What you doing?
Making lunch.
What's for lunch?
Greek pasta salad with chicken.
Very nice. Did you cut your finger?
Yeah.
Ah.
Thank you. I made us some Greek pasta salad for lunch. Gotta use those vegetables before they go bad.
We're actually going a very southern route. So the standard way of getting across the Atlantic is you leave Florida area and you ride up the Gulf Stream pretty much to the latitude of around Pennsylvania, which is about 40 degrees north. And then you're going to catch the westerlies, which are winds that'll blow you straight across to the Azores. So that's the standard route. Now, the reason this route exists is there's a large bubble in the middle of the Atlantic called the Azores High, and the wind simply circulates in a circular pattern around it. So it's flowing from the south, so it'll blow you north along the east coast of the US, and then when you get around 40 degrees north, it turns and it starts blowing you straight to the east, right to the Azores. This year it formed, but it also formed a second bubble next to it, which is really confusing and weird, and has 4 very strong low pressures that are sitting stagnant in it, creating 4 very powerful gales right along the 40-degree latitude line. So we're not going that way. So it makes it a little slower of a go, because usually you're being pushed by the Gulf Stream as you roll around the Azores High, where here we don't have the current helping us, so we have to sail some extra miles. But anyway, today's been really good for sailing. It's been consistent airs. They've been blowing, because the past few days we've had no wind at all, so it's nice. We're doing about 5 knots pretty much all the time, and we're only heeled over about 10 degrees, so it's a really comfortable ride. Our little receiver for the single sideband, it's got an antenna on it. It's not a huge antenna, and really far out to sea it has some trouble picking up the signal because it's several hundred miles away from where we are. We found by touching the antenna to the bimini arc, it's an ungrounded metal. It acts as an antenna and it picks up the signal.
This is our nightly routine of getting the weather facts.
Yeah, it starts at 8 p.m. and it ends at 9 p.m.
I'm starting to become familiar with the stars. I've learned some new constellations: Scorpio, Libra, Pegasus, but even the ones that stand on their own are becoming reliable companions during watch. The first 2 nights didn't have a moon, but now it's a glowing crescent that forms an infinite pathway of light through the water behind us. We're going south. It's not supposed to be this way, but the weather isn't following its normal patterns, which is frustrating. Luckily, Herbie has studied so much that he knows what to do. Morale is low when the wind dies.
We're currently making our way south. We're coming up on the Eleuthera Island chain. We're on the ocean side of it. And we're coming down to about 25 degrees north, where the winds are supposed to shift and start blowing us over towards the Caribbean. So what we're doing is we're circling around a nasty storm system that's been brewing in the Atlantic for a couple months now, actually. It usually goes away at the end of spring, but this year it just stayed. Around like mid-morning, all the wind just goes away. So it's times like this when most people would just crank on their diesel and muscle through it. in these cases, what we do is we put up our drifter and we ghost along at about 2 to 3 knots. So we're getting the drifter set up now. So we have to take down the other head sails and then hank this guy on and on. It's a process. But with 3 people, it goes pretty quickly.
What's up, Doc? Jacket the Ripper. It's not a knockoff from one of those. Reason. Reason was my next line of defense. Fear is bred from ignorance. So knowledge is a weapon against it. And reason... We're going to try fishing with one of our new lures. And it's pretty and blue and sparkly, and hopefully it will attract something excellent that we can eat. On the boat we have a hand reel. We like to leave it trolling behind us, so in hopes that we'll catch something. Okay, that's gotta be good. We're wrapping it on this winch because this way, when and if we catch something, it will twirl the winch and we'll know, so we don't have to constantly be checking. Done. It's nice to see that the sails are full. See a very clear wind line out there. The area where there is 0 wind is lighter, with no ripples whatsoever. Well, I've already read 2 books since we left. They were pretty short though, so right before we left I went and got the thickest book I could find that still held my interest. Count of Monte Cristo. I'm hoping this will last me the trip. Please let this last me the trip.
That's good.
There?
Yeah. When you're going due east, that means that in the afternoon the sun will beat down on you from the back. So a nice big hat, and then a big blanket to keep the sun off. It's important to have airflow under it so you don't get too hot as you head due east. Forever.
At how many knots?
Oh yes, we're doing 2 knots. It's forecasted to be 10 knots of wind right now. I think not.
Now last night while I was on watch, the winch went and it was loud and crazy and it must have been a really big fish, but then it stopped immediately, and so we just pulled it out to check if our lure was still there, and nope. So that poor fish is going around with a lure in his mouth. But now it's time to open lure number 2. And I hope that doesn't happen again because we don't have that many of these. This one is purple. Because I thought it was pretty. Attempt number 2.
So the last lure failed, and it's not that the leader material or anything like that broke. Like, we still have the swivel. So what ended up happening is where the lure attaches, it's just crimped. and I think that was just not strong enough to take the force of the fish. So instead of doing that again and losing our lure when we catch something delicious and tasty, I cut that off and we're just tying it on to the leader wire. So hopefully whatever bites this time can't get away. Be free!
We might have gotten something. Maybe.
Yeah.
It is a fish! We got a fish!
Bucket.
It is a fish.
It's a fish.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. I don't know what kind of fish.
Let me just actually kill him! Go!
Oh my gosh, we actually got a fish. That's a good lure.
Yeah. All right. So there's a fishy.
Wow.
We cleaned the fish. We got these 2 lovely fillets out of it. So now we know what we're having for dinner.
Yay! Oh, I forgot what it was like to have a cold beverage. The sea has given us another gift today. There is a squid on the deck, and we're gonna use him for some bait. I'm walking down a line that divides me somewhere in my mind. Well, maybe I've been here before. I know this room, I've walked this floor. I used to live alone before I knew ya. I've seen your flag on the marble arch. Love is not a victory march. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. Broken hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
So earlier we caught a fish, and now we have dinner of fish.
Hey, time to try this fish. I've never done anything like this before. Oh, it's very nicely cooked. That's good. It's good. We caught that. Today was a good day. We moved consistently east, though quite slowly. We realized that our fishing lure had been lost and replaced it with a new sparkly purple squid. Within a few minutes, a fish had bitten and we pulled it up. It was delicious. I've never caught food and then eaten it. The experience brought us closer to the ocean in a way that felt very natural. A school of flying squid passed by us while we were napping, and one landed on the deck. We hooked it and used it for bait. A school of tuna also graced us with a show of great power and speed, and they arched out of the water and hunted near us. We are relying on 2 elements during this journey, wind and water, and today they both provided. Okay.
Some very, very good news. Today is June 24th, and the weather finally went normal.
Hold on with your light.
No worries.
Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends.
And if you'd like to follow our journey in real time on a map, receive postcards from our ports of call, and message us directly to the boat, you can go ahead and become a patron using the link in the description down below.